What's up, everybody? You know what it is. UFC Fight Night this Saturday. Rozenstruik will be facing Gaziev. We break down UFC event main cards from the opener to the main event here. Let's get into it. All right, the first fight on the main card is going to be Matt Schnell facing Steve Erceg. So Steve Erceg had a great showing in his last fight. He absolutely dominated Alessandro Costa. Defended all of Alessandro Costa's takedown advances, dominated him on the feet, ate some good shots, showed that he can roll with the punches and also give them as well. I thought he did a great job from top to bottom in that fight, dominated every area of that match. It was a really good showing. He's a good striker, very good Muay Thai, a very good Muay Thai base on the feet, good grappling ability too. Fairly defensively sound, parries a lot. One thing I noticed about Steve Erceg is, and this is something I used to do when I would spar and when I would do MMA, is I would parry and use my hands as a defensive measure a lot. Instead of just punching with them or using them to block, I would actually try to find ways to use my hands to parry punches, move punches out of the way so I could punch. And I noticed that Steve Erceg does that as well, which is something I like a lot. He's also got decent wrestling takedown defense as well. However, in the past, that has been the only chink in the game that I've seen from Steve Erceg. He lost a decision against a guy, I think his name is Sean Gassie. And that guy pretty much just ground him out with wrestling. I don't think that guy did anything real threatening as far as damage, but that guy was able to take him down and kind of just, grind him out that way. But against his fight against Alessandro Costa, Steve Erceg looked pretty good, defended the takedowns pretty well. I think he did, if I'm not mistaken, he did get taken down in that fight, but he was able to defend all of Costa's submissions pretty easily and get up pretty easily. So I'm not really worried about Steve Erceg's wrestling too much. Especially considering we're talking his opponent, Matt Schnell, who by no means is a bad fighter. However, I think when it comes to the eye test and when it comes to the, looking at their respective opponents and how they perform in the octagon, I think there's a clear difference in ability. Matt Schnell's good. He's got a good left hook counter. He's got a decent straight, decent grappling. I wouldn't say he's a super strong or athletic guy, but he's definitely got the, the work rate of a wrestler. Like he'll keep trying and he'll keep going for the takedown. If you're not a super strong or athletic dude, it's going to be, you're going to be dealing with that guy kind of just coming after you over and over. Schnell has a sus chin. It is what it is. I don't like to say that. It can sound kind of rude, to a fighter. Fighters don't want to be told their chin is bad, just like they don't want to be told their jab is bad or that their heel kick is bad. But he's got a sus chin. He gets rocked a lot. He got KO'd by Mateus Nicolau in his last fight. Bad KO. Has no striking defense whatsoever. I think he just lacks defensive ability completely. No defensive awareness. Rushes in a lot of the time with his offense. Kind of just comes forward. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say he rushes in necessarily, but he like walks in with his strikes. It's not like slipping or parrying something or using the jab and then you step to create an angle. You don't really see that a lot from Matt Schnell. He kind of just toughs it out and comes forward. So I think this is pretty much a tailor-made match for Steve Erceg. I'm gonna pick Steve Erceg by first round KO. Yeah, I could see Matt Schnell coming in strong in the first round, trying to get to Steve Erceg, trying to grapple with him, because I think that's the route that most people are going to try to go with Steve Erceg because he is very skilled on the feet. And I honestly see Matt Schnell having very little success trying to take Steve Erceg down. I see Steve Erceg being able to break away, choosing to break away, because I don't think Erceg's necessarily going to go for a submission when he can beat this guy on the feet, and I think he'll be able to know that very quickly. I think Steve Erceg times him. I think he times him with a really good. Straight right. I can see it happening. Yeah, I can see this guy trying to in his mind, in the mind of Matt Schnell, is trying to bait Steve Erceg to come in so he could throw his left hook, and I could see Steve Erceg reading that, waiting for Matt Schnell to throw his left hook, which leaves him wide open. He overthrows it a lot, and I could see Steve Erceg coming right down the middle with a beautiful two and catching Matt Schnell in the chin. And that is it for Matt Schnell. So I'm going to go first round KO Steve Erceg. All right, next fight on the card is Umar Nurmagomedov taking it on Bekzat Almakhan. Not a lot of people know about Bekzat Almakhan. I want to just get into this right away. This dude is an absolute monster. I don't want people to think that Umar Nurmagomedov is just getting an easy fight here. Not so much for Umar's sake, but for this Bekzat guy's sake, because he's actually really good. But first, we're going to talk about Umar because that's who everyone knows. Umar Nurmagomedov, obviously, he can grapple really well. Huge Sambo background, comes from, Camp Khabib, Team Eagles. Has a very good Thai boxing style. Umar doesn't, he's not the type of Muay Thai fighter to stand in the pocket and just keep trading with you. He's actually he's very much a boxing oriented fighter. Like, he doesn't want to take unnecessary damage, and he wants to hit you and hurt you with each shot, but he doesn't wing his shots. That's the thing. He's not throwing huge bombs. He's waiting for the right moment to strike. Of course he's powerful. Of course he's fast, but he's a very calculated fighter, just like everyone else from that camp, basically. Quick kicks, lightning fast kicks, and he can change direction with the kicks very quick and very fluidly too. He doesn't telegraph them. You're not gonna, he could kick low, and then it looks like he's gonna kick low again, and next thing you know, the kick's at your head. And I know that, if you watch it on the TV, you can see it a lot easier. But what I'm saying is, if you're his opponent, you're not going to be able to find that read as easy when someone's standing in front of you. I think guys are afraid to engage with Umar Nurmagomedov, which is why he does so well with the striking. Because if you notice, he's not really throwing a lot of combinations against guys. Now, I did watch a couple fights of his where he fought, one fight of his where he fought a predominantly like a BJJ guy. And this was in the past. I don't remember the dude's name, but he actually was throwing really good combinations in that fight. But that guy had no striking to offer him whatsoever. So, he just kind of came at that guy throwing everything. But Umar's not dumb. I don't think Umar is a world-class striker. I think he looks really good striking-wise because of, his grappling and wrestling ability. But he's also really smart. He knows that. And he doesn't take too many risks as far as, allowing people to find opportunity from him making a mistake on the feet or him making a mistake with a shot. Just a really smart dude. Has really nasty ground and pound. He put up a really good patient effort against Sergey Morozov. I thought that was a really good fight for him. He didn't come into that fight cocky. Didn't come into that fight with I guess like your debut I don't even know what to call it, but you know what I mean. Like, you get anxiety, you get a little nervous on your debut, and he looked really good in that fight. Choked out Kelleher in round one, which is, I think, a really good submission, because Kelleher is actually a really good wrestler. So, that's a good submission. I know he's a little older, but you gotta give these guys credit for the wins they get at the level that they're at. So that was a good submission for Umar. Kicked Nate Maness into oblivion. Absolute domination. KOs Ronnie Barcelos in the first round. So Umar Nurmagomedov has shown that he's not just a grappler. However, that is going to be his strong suit going into this fight. The guy can strike. He's a very intelligent fighter. What more can I say about Umar Nurmagomedov? The only thing I can say is I really wish I would have seen that fight between him and Corey Sandhagen, but, maybe we'll get to see it later on down the road. All right, let's talk about Bekzat Almakhan. Power punching monster, absolutely scary, terrifying human being for the bantamweight division. Knocks guys stiff. He has 7 KOs in the first round alone. 7 KOs in the first round alone. Great wrestling. Guy, he's not built like a tank, but he looks very physically strong, very physically powerful, very quick to find good position in the wrestling too. I don't know, based off what I've seen, I don't think he's got as high of level as grappling and wrestling as Umar Nurmagomedov, but it's really good. Like, it's super good. It's definitely UFC level grappling, like in the rankings bantamweight level grappling. And that's not glazed. I mean, that is 100% true. From what I've seen from this guy, he looks like an absolute monster. Hasn't fought any premier competition. That's the only thing I can say. He's been decimating his opponents so far on the regional scene, but no one's been like high level caliber. He does have a loss from 4 years ago as well, but that guy was an absolute monster. So I'm not going to look too much into that loss. I think it was a decision loss, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but the guy had like an 18-2 record. That's what he has now, and at the time, I think he had like an undefeated record. He was like 16-1 or 14-1 or something like that. I could totally be getting this wrong, but I know that the guy had a good record when he fought him, and the guy still has a good record now. So not a slouch opponent, so I'm not going to look too far into that. I'm actually looking forward to see this fight. I don't know too much about Bekset, but heck, I'm pumped. And honestly, as far as a prediction goes, it's really hard. I mean, I know that we haven't seen this guy fight, but he looks really good. I'm going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov. He's the more seasoned opponent. He's fought the better competition. He's been in the UFC. But if you have a little bit of extra money and you want to throw some money down on Bekset, it might not be a bad idea. That's all I'm going to say. I don't have a super detailed prediction for this fight because I don't know much about Bekset, and he honestly looks really good, but I am going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov. But if you can bet a little bit of money, you might want to on Bekset. That's all I'm going to say. All right, next match is Alex Perez taking on Muhammad Mokaev in the flyweight division. Alex Perez, coming off of 2 submission losses in the first round. That's not great, especially going up against a guy like Muhammad Mokaev, who is a submission master, grappler heavy, wants to put opponents against the cage and drag them or slam them to the ground and then look for the submission. That's not really a good thing. He's 3-3 in his last 6 fights. All 3 of his losses are first round stoppages. That's also not good. That's really bad. Things aren't looking good for Alex Perez going into this fight. That's all I'm going to say. He looked good against Jose Formiga. Hope I'm saying that right. I don't know how to say Formiga's first name. Lots of low leg kicks, lots of calf kicks. Destroyed the leg of Formiga. Looked really, didn't really get caught on the feet with anything either. Formiga threw some punches, but I think a lot of them hit glove or like just grazed him. So he looked really good on the stand-up in that fight, but again, he pretty much obliterated the calf of Formiga right from the get. So Formiga already, his striking wasn't going to be as good because of the damage he had taken to the calf. But, a win's a win. Guy rushes in. One thing I've noticed about Perez is he likes to rush in a lot, which can leave you open to get caught. And against a guy like Mokaev, who isn't necessarily known for being like a super high-level striker, he is very unpredictable, and he can strike. And he can also hit pretty, he's also got decent power. Muhammad Mokaev has put a few guys down, hurt a few guys. Like, it's not like he can't strike just because he's, mostly a dominant grappler. And I could really see, I could see him hurting a predictable guy against Alex Perez, who just kind of comes forward and, just throws like a hard straight and a hard hook, kind of, puts his guard up and then just keeps coming forward, doesn't really do a lot to create angles, isn't like a back foot fighter, not a boxer. So, and, Muhammad Mokaev is going to want to put the pressure on this guy. So is this guy going to even be able to do what he does, which is come forward against guys? Because that's what it looks like. He has to be the guy coming forward. He has to be the nail, or he has to be the hammer. He can't be the nail. Muhammad Mokaev can be the nail. And speaking of Muhammad Mokaev, let's talk about him. Grappler heavy. We already said that. We know his game plan. Cage, take you down, submit you. Game plan. Obviously, there's a lot more intricate parts that go into play to actually get your opponent to where you want them. And I think Muhammad Mokaev has a lot of tools to fill the sequences to get to where he wants. He's got decent kicks. He's got decent 1-2, decent strikes on the feet overall. I would say Muhammad Mokaev he's got the fundamentals down, which is really all you need. But the thing is, he's also very unpredictable. He'll throw a flying knee out of nowhere and then throw a flying knee and then go for a single. So that unpredictability can be a very good thing sometimes. It can lead you to making some poor decisions, but it can be a very, very good thing. And against a guy like Alex Perez, who's very predictable, I can see Muhammad Mokaev thinking, flying knee. I could really see that happening. Quick win over Cody Durden, blew through Charles Johnson, Malcolm Gordon, Jafel Fioho. He had a good arm triangle finish over Tim Elliott. And I want to talk about that Tim Elliott fight. So I know he got the finish. But I want to say Tim Elliott was winning that fight before he got the finish. Muhammad Mokaev was having a hard time on the feet. He was having a hard time taking Tim Elliott down, if I believe. Tim Elliott was showing experience, and also showing that Tim Elliott is also no joke. But Muhammad Mokaev was losing that fight until he got the submission. Tim Elliott is a much better caliber of opponent than Alex Perez. Tim Elliott's actually really good. The fact that Muhammad Mokaev was able to be the nail and still get the finish showed me that, well, it shows me a lot. It shows me that you can be losing a fight and you can still find a way to win. That you're not the type of person that quits mentally. You know what I mean? A lot like Brian Ortega, someone who can get absolutely obliterated, but still in their mind thinks that they can win and is looking for a way to win. They haven't just went into survival mode yet, which is a real thing that happens. A lot of guys go into survival mode the second they feel hard adversity. Not just any adversity, but like real hard adversity that's going to be like a real struggle, like, an uncertain place that you have to go to. Not that Muhammad Mokaev had to go really hard, but, he was losing a fight and he came back and won, so that's good to me. That's a good look to me. I think this fight is tailor-made for Muhammad Mokaev. I think it's a lot like the first fight we talked about, Matt Schnell and Steve Erceg. I think this fight is very similar. I think Alex Perez is pretty much a hand-picked stepping stone for Muhammad Mokaev. I think Muhammad Mokaev gets a second or third round submission. The only reason I say that is even though Muhammad Mokaev, he does have the ability to hurt guys and he is a decent striker and he does have a good submission game, he typically takes a little bit longer to submit guys. He does like to wear him out a little bit more, gas him out a little bit more, kind of, take him in a battle of attrition. So, second or third round, I want to say a guillotine. Yeah, I could honestly see it because of the way Perez rushes forward. I can honestly see Muhammad Mokaev letting Perez kind of back him up and then like maybe I could see Perez going for a takedown or something. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know. I think Muhammad Mokaev gets it second or third round by a guillotine submission. And I think he does it either way, whether he's getting pressured or he's pressuring Alex Perez. I think he finds that neck, he gets that grip, and I think he gets the submission. Muhammad Mokaev has a really good guillotine. He's got a lot of good submissions, but that one seems to be pretty darn tight. So, I'm going to go Muhammad Mokaev, second or third round, guillotine choke. All right, on to the co-main event. We're getting to the big boys now. Tyson Pedro versus Vitor Petrino. All right, so both these guys are big, strong, powerful dudes. They're typically, I wouldn't say they're super slow starters, but they start a little bit slower. They're not coming out guns blazing usually, at least not recently. Tyson Pedro, physically strong. Vitor Petrino, very physically big, strong dude. Both big, strong dudes. A lot of KO power. This is for sure going to be a firefight. I don't really think Tyson Pedro is going to try to grapple with this guy too much. This guy doesn't really try to grapple too much either. He is a big, strong dude. But just based off of his record and what I've seen, he's not a huge wrestler. He can wrestle, but I don't think a lot of guys want to wrestle with him, to be honest with you, because he looks like a pretty physically strong, imposing dude. Looks like he has, a decent athleticism as well. I will say he does look a bit labored in his movements. He's just kind of a big, thick guy. He's a bit slower than Tyson Pedro. Pedro definitely has the speed advantage in this fight. They fought a lot of the same competition, but I'm not going to try to do MMA math too much. But it just kind of shows that this guy, Vitor Petrino, is good. Like, he's decently good. He's fighting good level competition. He's got 4 KOs in the first round. He's got wins over Anton Turkalj, Marcin Petrino. Tyson Pedro also has a win over Anton Turkalj, but I think that Tyson Pedro was able to KO Anton Turkalj, and this guy beat him over 5 rounds. But again, you can't really use MMA math. I think that Vitor Petrino is the harder, more powerful dude, even though Tyson Pedro was able to KO a similar opponent. Like Modestas Bukauskas, for instance, was able to beat Tyson Pedro, but this guy KO'd Modestas Bukauskas. So you can't really use MMA math too much to gauge this fight. I will say that this guy's 26, Tyson Pedro's 32. A 6-year age gap can be a big deal. This dude's obviously hungry. Coming off of some, I would say, notable wins in the light heavyweight division. It's crazy that Tyson Pedro has lost some of the fights that he's lost and won some of the fights that he's won. He's submitted Khalil Roundtree and KO'd Paul Craig. But then he's also lost to Mauricio Hua. And, gosh, why am I drawing blanks now? But he's lost to some guys that you just wouldn't think he should be losing to. It's really hard with Tyson Pedro because I want to pick Tyson Pedro for this fight, but like, is he going to show up? Is it going to be Tyson Pedro that loses to Mauricio Hua, who's way past his prime? Or is he going to be, the guy that submits Khalil Roundtree after getting brutally rocked? Like, Khalil Roundtree hit him with one heck of a left hand, and he just takes him down and submits him. And I don't know too much about Vitor Petrino to be able to say he's just going to, KO someone like Tyson Pedro, who maybe isn't elite level, but he's at least, good enough to beat guys that have been in the rankings. So, I don't think this is going to be a grappling match. I think this is going to end in a KO. I'm going to go with Vitor Petrino. I could see him getting a second round KO, even a first round KO, because Tyson Pedro was a bit of a slow starter. So was this guy, but I don't see this guy being the one going backwards. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. I see Tyson Pedro just kind of taking his time a little bit too much, pawing with his jab a little bit. And I can see this guy kind of just, I can see this guy just being able to touch Tyson Pedro, just touch him with a really stiff jab, like Tyson Pedro tries to come in, tries to assert himself, to take lead of the fight, to take control of the fight, to be the one on the front foot and to put Vitor Petrino on the back foot. And I can really see Vitor Petrino catching him with a jab or catching him with a check left hook. Yeah. And yeah, if Vitor Petrino hurts him too, I think Vitor Petrino is definitely going to finish him on the ground if it doesn't get finished on the feet, because I think he's just so much physically stronger than Tyson Pedro. Tyson Pedro, it's not like he can't grapple, but I don't know if he's going to be able to grapple with this guy. He looks big and strong. Tyson Pedro's 32. I don't really know if he's going to be that guy in the light heavyweight division. This guy's on the, he's on the come up. He's going to be hungry, and Tyson Pedro isn't necessarily a super hungry 32-year-old that's looking at a title shot, I don't think. So I'm going to go Vitor Petrino, first round KO. Yeah, I think, honestly, I don't think this fight is going to be too much of a barn burner. I think it's going to end. Both guys are going to be taking their time on the feet, maybe land a few jabs. Maybe Tyson Pedro throws a few body kicks. I could see Tyson Pedro taking more control of the fight in the beginning, even though he's a bit of a slower starter, just because he is a little bit more of a boxer, and this guy's a little bit, Petrino's a little bit plottier, a little bit slower. But yeah, I just see Vitor catching him. I see Tyson Pedro starting to try to feel in his groove and is not getting cocky, but just getting a little too excited and getting caught, and I could see this guy finishing him. I think Tyson Pedro gets caught, This guy gets into his guard and, you know, gets into half guard, gets full mount, and I think he finishes Tyson Pedro via ground and pound. So that's what I'm going. First round, ground and pound finish by Vitor Petrino. All right, on to the main event, the heavyweights, the big boys. Biggie boy himself. Jairzinho Rozenstruik will be facing Shamil Gaziev. What can I say other than this is going to be an absolute barn burner? That fight, I'm looking at my papers that I have down there that you guys can't see if you're just listening, and you can't even see if you're watching. I don't know why I did that. But my notes down there, the Tyson Pedro Vitor Petrino fight, you know, you would think that that would be a barn burner, but after watching footage, I don't really think it's going to be. This fight is going to be a barn burner, 100% for sure. So, big power from both guys. However, it's a little bit different. Shamil Gaziev is definitely like a straight puncher, and he likes to use that right hand like a piston and just keep jamming it at his opponents and hitting them and hitting them and hitting them until it just chisels them down to nothing. Whereas Jairzinho Rozenstruik is he's got that big clubbing power, likes to throw a lot of hooks. That doesn't mean he can't throw like straight punches and shit good. But what I'm saying is big hooks, a lot of lunging, leaping attacks, big wide kicks. Like everything is bad intentioned when it comes from Rozenstruik. And Shamil Gaziev is the same way. You know, his fight against Martin Buday, he was throwing everything into every single shot, pretty much gassed himself out. You could tell he was gassed when he was finishing Buday. Like, he was actually literally gassed out, like huffing and puffing in between each punch, but Buday just didn't want to fight anymore. If Buday was smart, he would have just like grabbed Gaziev and just held on to him and took a beating for another round, and he probably would have finished Gaziev in the third round because Gaziev was basically had finished himself by going so hard. But that's just the type of fighter he is, goes really hard. Both guys go really hard. I think Rozenstruik's a little more composed. Rozenstruik isn't the same type of guy to just come right out and attack people, get right in there. You know, he's a little bit more patient. That's not to say that he doesn't take control, that he doesn't walk guys down, but I'm just saying he doesn't run right into their face. Gaziev, right in your face, trying to hit you, trying to hurt you, trying to clinch with you. He's got decent grappling, decent wrestling, but you don't know if it's actually good or not because this is the heavyweight division. And a lot of guys just concede to lay on the ground once a guy takes him down in the heavyweight division for whatever reason. But he seemingly seems to have decent wrestling. He's got 8 wins by KO. Yeah. What more can I say about Gaziev? Rozenstruik, his last fight against Jailton Almeida, you know, obviously exposed a huge weakness. That he doesn't have any wrestling or grappling, like high-level wrestling or grappling for the heavyweight division, which isn't really needed until you get into like the top, I don't know, 8, top 10, top 8. But yeah, it doesn't really have great grappling. So if Shamil Gaziev is somewhat of like a secret like high-level grappler or something, and we just haven't seen it yet, that could spell like bad luck for Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik is 4-2 in his last 6, by the way, which is crazy because I still think Rozenstruik is really good. I still think as far as kickboxing, striking, and the feet goes, I think Rozenstruik is still like one of those guys. You know, I know he got KO'd by Volkov, but you know, I feel like Rozenstruik is kind of tailor-made for Volkov. Volkov is a very tall, lengthy fighter, likes to throw 1-2s. Like to throw stuff straight down the middle, and Rozenstruik's very much hook-oriented, so I feel like that's just and he's a lot shorter than Volkov. So I feel like that was a tailor-made fight for Volkov. I'm trying not to look into it too much because I still think Rozenstruik is really good on the feet. You know, he has a win over Chris Daukaus. I don't want to give him too much credit for that, though, because Chris Daukaus is basically a middleweight. He did look really good in that fight, absolutely destroyed him. But I think he can be beaten with straight punches, and Shamil Gaziev is like literally nothing but straight punches. I mean, he's obviously more than straight punches, but he just throws punches and bunches, and they're all straight punches, and a lot of them are piston right hands. I don't know if it's looking so good for Biggie Boy here. Shamil Gaziev just doesn't look as dynamic on the feet, though. Like, he looks like he's he's very one-dimensional when it comes to the striking. That's why it's somewhat hard for me to really gauge who I think is going to win this fight. Because I don't know if Shamil Gaziev has the movement to really outwork a Rozenstruik, you know? Like, Rozenstruik just seems like a more athletic dude. Not that either one of these guys are super supreme athletes, but, like, I feel like on the feet, Rozenstruik was a kickboxer, you know? You know what? I can see Gaziev being overly aggressive in this fight and getting absolutely brutally head kick KO'd by Jairzinho Rozenstruik, throwing one of those left hand sequences where he's just real heavy on the left hand. I can really see Rozenstruik getting one of those big kicks over that right hand as it drops. Him just timing it and getting a kick and kicking Shamil Gaziev. Like a gassed Shamil Gaziev. Like I can honestly see Gaziev winning like the first round against Rozenstruik just on pressure alone, because Rozenstruik isn't going to be he's not going to come out like Shamil Gaziev. He's going to wait. And I think it'll actually be a good first round. I think you're going to see both guys tag each other a little bit, but I can see Gaziev getting the first round just by being the busier guy and having a little bit more pressure. But again, I see him getting tired. And if you get tired against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, that is not good. And I could see him throwing some of those labored punches like he did against Martin Buday. And Biggie Boy being the better kickboxer, maybe not allowing Shamil Gaziev to get him up against the cage as easy as Buday, because Buday basically just went straight backwards. I could see Rozenstruik kind of waiting for him to come in 1-2 and just off angling and coming up with a head kick and absolutely obliterating the head of Shamil Gaziev. So that's going to be my prediction. I'm going to say second round KO. Jairzinho Rozenstruik kicks. Gets a rear left head kick over Shamil Gaziev. After Gaziev comes in with the labored 1-2. And down goes Gaziev. That's what I see. I really do see that. So there's my prediction. Jairzinho Rozenstruik in round 2 via head kick KO over Shamil Gaziev. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. It's fun to do these videos and think about what about my predictions and opinions have changed as I do the video. Because as I do these videos, it's like in my notes, I don't really say who I think is going to win because I'm still thinking about it as the video goes. But yeah, I was thinking Gaziev pretty much until I shot the video. I know, it's kind of weird. Anyway, if you guys like the videos, make sure you give them a like. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. I try to do main card predictions every week. Whenever there's a UFC event happening. If I could talk straight today. And your guys' support would be greatly appreciated. If you could leave comments in the comment section below. I don't care if you disagree with me. You can call me funny looking. I don't care. I'm just looking for any kind of, any type of engagement, any type of interaction. I'm here for the MMA community. I'm here to talk about fights. I'm here to talk about all that bull crap. So include me in it. I know the videos are low quality and crap right now, but we're hoping to get better in the future. So anyway, guys, I hope you're enjoying your day. I hope you enjoy the rest of it. And I will talk to you later. Peace.